Okay, looks like I'm already showing up live. So, looks like I'm showing up live already. Let me fix myself real quick. All right, y'all. This is an annual thing that I do every year. I think this is the third one. Um, yeah, I think I started in Rosh Hashanah 2019 or 2020, something like that. Um, So let me pull myself up to make sure I'm showing where I'm supposed to. Okay, perfect. All right, y'all. So without any further ado, I'm Indira Michelle. Welcome to the Digital Disciples group. You might be seeing this inside the group, or you might be seeing this because I'm probably going to post it on YouTube for people who are not in the group to watch. But basically, I do this every year, every September. I go in and talk about Rosh Hashanah. It always falls during my birthday week because God loves me like that. And so it's always like a good time. So for me personally, it's always a new year because my birthday is coming. So it's a new, you know, year for me anyway, for me to reevaluate goals. However, um, Rosh Hashanah is something that a lot of people have no idea, like the spiritual significance of it. They're taught that because we're Christian, you know, we're not Jewish. That's Jewish New Year. There's nothing for us to know about it, and nothing could be further from the truth, right? So if you are just jumping on, say hi to me in the comments so I can, feel a little hype, like I have people with me. But what we basically do every year when I talk about Rosh Hashanah, I talk about the spiritual significance of it. I talk about what you can look forward to in the upcoming 12 months until the next one, and how, with that information, you need to align your business strategies with the spiritual component of it, what it means. Like, so there are a lot of things that you might experience as a Christian or faith based entrepreneur. Um, a lot of the things that you experience will be, you'll have an understanding of why those things are happening. You'll be able to make strategies that work, right? Because you're not trying to go against the grain, right? Because even though you may feel like, you a bad aid, whatever, you not stronger than God. So there's that. Stronger than God, like the creator of the universe. Like, yeah, you're not stronger than him. So why go against what is already natural? Why go against nature and this and what I'm trying to say? And trying to do things, it just makes you super exhausted, super tired. Um, and it's so unnecessary, right, y'all? So unnecessary. So I see, hey, Dr. Katia, hey, Callie Boo. So let's begin. So Rosh Hashanah began on at sunset, Sunday, September 25th, and it lasted until right now because the sun is setting right now, Monday, September 26th. So that is when Rosh Hashanah started, right? I'm just looking down at my notes on my iPad in case you're wondering. Now, what's important? When we look in Genesis during the creation story, right? Anytime God made something throughout that 7 day period, it said, like in the Bible, it says something like evening came, then the morning, and then it was the second day. Evening came, and then the morning, then the third day, and it goes on like that in Genesis. And so, what stood out to me this time, I never paid attention to this before. But what stood out for me this time is that God starts things at night, right? So a lot of us who are, suffering from what we think is insomnia, or a lot of us who feel, the best time to pray for us is at night, because we're probably spiritually tapped in people. God started things at night, right? And that also means that he starts things from a place of rest. He doesn't start things like all crazy, all willy nilly, like all over the place. He's very organized, very systematic. Like, he starts things at night, And so, he starts from a place of rest. How many of us, do the complete opposite in our businesses? We start from a place of lack. We start from a place of need. We start from a place of worry. We start from a place of anxiety. And we are built in God's image. So you already know how that's going to work out, right? It's not going to go very far. So just keep that in mind. Now, like I said, I've been doing these Rosh Hashanah talks for like the last 2 or 3 years, and the videos are still here if you're watching it inside of the group. Hands down, every time I do them with 100% accuracy, everything that I mentioned in these videos is exactly what people can expect for the next 12 months. So much so to the point that I actually have people who have seen these videos in the past and personally reach out to me like, you want to do it this year? And just not bigging up myself or anything like that, but just to show you like what a game changer it is to actually use these biblical tools and this knowledge to actually apply it to your strategies on how you go about going into business and how you go about trying to increase your business revenue and income in the upcoming year, right? So Rosh Hashanah is not, I have in my notes, Rosh Hashanah is not simply Jewish New Year. That's one of the things that it is, but that's not all of it, right? Um, just because you are a Christian or you might not even be Christian, right? And be in this group, I don't know how, but you might not be, right? But just because we are no longer under the Old Testament, that doesn't mean that these things don't apply to us, right? So, is it a sin for you not to recognize or observe Rosh Hashanah? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that if you take a destination, you trying to go somewhere and you're going somewhere without GPS or a map, yeah, you probably can still get there and you probably will still get there, but it would be a lot easier if you were using those tools. The same way, like you may be trying to reach a destination, getting there with using a plane is going to be much faster than walking, right? So, same concept. So, a lot of these things that we talk about, like in terms of observance of the Hebrew calendar and things like that, are these things like you going to heaven or hell whether you do them or not? Absolutely not. But will it make your voyage on this earth a little bit easier knowing what's in place? Absolutely, right? So that's basically where I'm coming from with that. So first and foremost, understand that the Hebrew calendar is a biblical calendar. Put that in the chat for me. Somebody put in the word biblical calendar. So the Hebrew calendar is a biblical calendar. So if you are following it, then you are following the Bible, right? So there's nothing wrong with it. Don't let I think a lot of times people in our faith will make you feel bad, like, what do you, I don't know anything about Rosh Hashanah, or I don't know anything about Yom Kippur. Why are you looking at this stuff? There's a biblical calendar, right? It's not a Hebrew calendar only. It is a biblical calendar for everyone to align themselves around. Okay. Um, so although and also so that nobody can come for me, right? Although we're not Jewish, Jesus made it very clear that his second coming will be something that those who are astrologically competent will be able to see, right? So in Matthew, Lord, I lost the chapter because I moved, but it says, um, verse 25, there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming on the world, for the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Heavenly bodies means stars, right? At that time, they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. He told them this parable: look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they sprout leaves, you can see for yourself and know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things happening, you know that the kingdom of God is near. So, my question is, a sign has language. It has symbolism. So if you don't understand the language or symbolism of a sign, how are you supposed to know what it means? Right? So this was not an Old Testament thing. This was something that Jesus said in the New Testament. So if you don't know what's happening with the sun, the moons, and the stars, how are you supposed to know when these things are occurring if you know nothing about it? Okay, so that's one of the reasons why knowing about biblical feast days, because they all have to do with either new moon, full moon, and I'm not getting into all of that here today, but that's a lot of it is part of that, right? Um, so what I have noticed though is that we're generally falling into two camps. We're falling into extremes, right? So there's one extreme of people who worship the created things instead of the creator himself, you know. And then there's the other extreme of people who are like super religious, you know, fanatic zealot, who you just mention anything to do with the moon, the sun, the stars, they shut it down. They don't want to hear anything, and that's it, right? And neither one is good, in my opinion. Like, there's neither one is balanced, right? It should be a balance of both. Um, and so, to give you an example, right? You, let's say, you get pregnant. Um, you have an ultrasound. The ultrasound tells you that you're having a baby girl, right? Okay, well then you go in, you get a nursery, you get some clothes, you have a baby shower, you telling people what the ultrasound told you, they know what to buy for your baby, you have a healthy delivery, everything is at no point there did you is that considered witchcraft, right? And so, but it was a tool, right, that told you something about what was happening in the future, right? But you used it for exactly what it was for. You used it as a tool, and that's it. You didn't have the baby girl, and then after you turned around, it's like, man, that ultrasound, this is the greatest ultrasound ever. Let me take a moment to just honor and praise the ultrasound. Like, you didn't do that. It was a tool. You used it for what it was for. You made decisions based off of the information that it gave you, and that's it. Those of us who are in Florida, same concept. Meteorology is not witchcraft, right? They told us Ian is coming this week. They try to go to the store right now and get some water. You can't, right? Because people took that information of something that's supposed to happen, you know, next week or this week or whatever, and they made decisions based on it. But nobody is going back, whether Ian shows up or not, nobody's going to go back and be like, man, that meteorologist on Fox News, or in my household it'd be CNN, not Fox, but that's neither here nor there. But you know, he's just, oh, he's awesome, he's great, he's this, he's that. I need to take a moment and honor him. You know what I mean? So it was a tool. You use it for what you needed to, and that's the end, right? You don't go and set up a whole shrine, you know what I mean, to the meteorologist who gave you the information. You use it for what you use it for, and that's it, right? So that's the basic ways that I can give you, like, analogies of how. Thank you, Kelly. She said that those are great analogies, so that you can understand the difference between using a tool and, you know, where it gets to the point where it's like idolatry, where you are overboard, right? We do this all the time, right? But for some reason, you know, when it comes to anything to do with, you know, sun, moon, stars, everybody gets all in a tizzy. Y'all need to relax, y'all. Y'all need to relax, okay? Just calm down. Commentate over here. It's not as bad as you think. Um, okay, so this might be your first time watching me do one of these Rosh Hashanah recaps, Rosh Hashanah like summaries or whatever. So I'm just gonna give you a brief recap of other ones that I've done, so that you could be like up to speed with where we are. So, okay, in September of 2019, okay, that would have been the Hebrew year of 5780. Okay, so in September of 2019, the decade of the Hebrew calendar changed to 5780, right? So each number in the each number, like with the Hebrew numbers, has a letter and a symbol that is attached to it. Okay, so 80 was symbolic of the mouth, right? That was the symbol of what it was attached to. 80 was symbolic of the mouth, and so that set the tone for what the whole decade would be about. Okay, so this decade is a decade of declaration, and like I said, if you watch those previous videos, you'll hear me talk. What was it, 2 3 years ago? I said it's a decade of declaration, and so as a result of knowing that it's a decade of declaration, um, isn't it funny that that happened in September of 2019? In January 2020, everybody was talking about, oh, 2020 vision, 2020 vision. I got my 2020 vision. Yeah, okay. And then how did we have 2020 vision, but yet we were all blindsided by a pandemic? I'm just saying, right? So we didn't have it, right? Obviously, and the reason for it was because that was not a decade of vision. It was actually a decade of declaration. So we were off, right? Um, and so again, that is why it is important to know this type of stuff. So when everybody else is running around talking about it's 2020 vision, it's 2020 vision, you can sit back, at peace, knowing that actually it's a decade of declaration. And so it's more important for me to focus on what's coming out of my mouth, what I'm using my voice, what am I attaching, what am I declaring. You would have had a totally different mindset than everybody else, right? So, and you also wouldn't have been surprised. You also wouldn't have been surprised by the pandemic. You wouldn't have been blindsided by it, because obviously, if it's a decade of declaration, then it would make sense, because obviously the enemy understands how the biblical calendar works as well, and that is why the attempt in 2020 was on our mouths, right? We started wearing masks. We started separating, from each other. We started being isolated, right? That wouldn't have come as a surprise to you if you knew ahead of time that this was a decade of declaration. Does that make sense? Right? Hey, my cousin Famira is on here. Hey, Celestina. Oh, awesome. She said she was listening with her notepad. So now we had the wrong decade focus in January of 2020, when we were walking around talking about 2020 vision, when it was already predetermined from September. Well, predetermined from way before that, but that it was a decade of declaration. The mouth was the important thing to look at, not vision. And so this is why it is so important to understand how this calendar works, and why there's so many attempts from the enemy to get us to not even look at it and not even be focused on it. Because what happens is it gets us to waste time, right? Now, if you look, when you waste time, that's what ends you up in situations that create anxiety, right? It creates depression. It creates heartbreak, right? It creates all this unnecessary stress and pressure when, we waste time, right? And so it creates, you basically reacting to things from a place of your emotions instead of you responding to stuff, right? And so when you really take a look, like with your spiritual eyes, when you really peep game, you'll see that those are the things. Like, it's not, people don't wake up one day and just decide, oh, I'm not going to church anymore, or I don't believe in God anymore, or this, I don't want to do this particular, I don't want to be a part of this particular faith anymore, whatever. 99.999% out of the time, what happened, something occurred in their life where they experienced anxiety, depression, heartbreak, whatever, and they didn't feel like that experience, they didn't feel comforted in that experience, and so it starts the process of you pulling back spiritually. It doesn't matter the religion, it doesn't matter the faith, but anyone who kind of disconnects from corporate worship in terms of moving forward, usually when you pull it back, that's usually the root cause of what happened, right? And so also, like, when you look at like a lot of our relationship or business failures, right? We're not really hurt by the circumstance. We're hurt by the fact that we wasted time on it, right? When you really like pull back and look at the situation, because then you're like, man, let's say you get a divorce, you're like, oh, I gotta start all over. I gotta go date all over. You're really more upset at the waste of your time than the actual incident that hurt your feelings. Like, the incident could have hurt your feelings, but the waste of time is really like what like really gets really what causes the pain. And what did I put down to? Let me see. So the time you waste in the circumstance, the time it takes to start over. Let's say it's a business opportunity, the time and it doesn't work out the way you wanted to. You start thinking about the time you wasted or the time it's going to take for you to save the money again. The time it's going to take for you to earn the money back. That's what really hurts. It's not what happened, is the time attached to it. And so, of course, with that being said, this is why the enemy likes to get us to waste our time, right? Or be ignorant of what's happening in regards to time, because he knows that when that happens, these are the results, right? So if he can get us to waste time, it puts him ahead of the game, right? Or however you choose to look at him, but that's what happens, right, at the end of the day. So so I have down here, it should be of no surprise then that during a decade of declaration, the enemy came in with an attack against the mouth. We started having to wear masks, stay away from each other. Some of us stopped going to church. We started working remotely. We started dating online. Like, we just became, unplugged from a lot of things. And Callie put here, that's a big time wasted in not trusting yourself when you got that drop down in your Hashanah. Exactly, Kelly Boo. And so isolation, which is a lot of what happened in 2020, isolation is also a strategy to keep you quiet and to keep you confused, right? If because sometimes isolation is good, because some of y'all ninjas be out here